In the mid-market segment, we did personalized cold email, which means we actually typed them out by hand based on recent events that we followed on LinkedIn and their website. For example, if they had a new job opening for a position that was relevant to this, we draft an email specifically for that and then call them up with a personalized script as well. So we used to do a cold call that is research. And we used to, in the first line, immediately say, hey, I just saw that you recently switched positions for this. Do you mind transferring me to the person in charge? Something like that, right? You immediately get to the point and you show that you research. And then even when you reach the person, you say, hey, I just saw you started this new position and I wanted to ask you how are things going so far? Simple as that, because they tell you, yeah, I just got started. I had really nice conversations, especially with job changes. So you can try this strategy. We literally just go on a long-term play. With mid-market companies, your goal is not to immediately book a meeting because you have multiple decision makers. You need to multi-thread. You need to find multiple people, which you can only do if you network your way in there. So your first call shouldn't be a straight pitch. They're going to want to know what you're actually doing, and you can tell them that. But starting your conversation with a simple, like, how are things going for you so far? I heard a lot of times, especially when people are starting out, XYZ is a challenge. How's that for you? And then you just have a conversation with them. Like, hey, we do this. Do you mind if I just send you an email? No pressure at all. Just so you have it. And we can like call again in 30 days from now when you're a bit more relaxed from all the catch-up work you have to. 99% of people said yes. And then you call them again and they're like, yeah, I remember you. And then you ask more about their business, about their specific problems, the impact of those problems, right? Any events that you had, like critical events, any decision criteria that they have, which is the spiced framework, by the way, if you didn't notice. So you're going to do these things because then you enter the company as a stranger, but you start knowing people. You know this guy, and then he says, oh yeah, I also talked to Sarah, who does this part. And now suddenly you have two decision makers because the stuff your software solves is split across departments, which it was in this case. We have multiple departments. We had finance, logistics, stuff like that, which means that if you were to cold call a person without being personalized at all and you just pitch them a straight demo, sometimes it works. But that's not how you get a big account. And using this strategy, we book meetings with like Airbus, Lockheed Martin, all these big companies using this. If I send them a simple cold email and then didn't call them and I didn't connect with them on LinkedIn, which is, by the way, third step, connect on LinkedIn and actually engage with their posts with relevant stuff. If you don't do this, you're never going to get into the big companies. And there's some exceptions to that. If you have the right signals and you send like cold emails, automate, that works. But if you really want the big accounts, you're going to need to do this. At least that's what we did. And so the strategy for this one was similar with the CTA, because we literally just said, can I send you a video showing how it works, right? That was the first milestone we had in this thing. So we introduced ourselves and we had a chat, and then we said, hey, do this. Can I just send you a quick video? I made it specifically for you. And that's the difference between these two segments, is literally here we had a per segment personalized. Here we made it for the person. So in the video, you immediately start on the person's LinkedIn or their website. So they see within the first second, oh, this is just for me. This is special. This person actually put time into doing something for me without asking for anything. That's why this works. All right. I promise you the video strategy crushes everything else we ever did. And so because we only had a few companies in here, doing this personalized full approach made way more sense, which is how we got these accounts. Because doing this, you can't really get you can't burn the lead. That's impossible because you're doing stuff for them. Here, people will just unsubscribe. That won't happen if you do this, especially if you call. Cold calling is extremely underrated if you want to reach big accounts. That's just the truth. All right. If you have good data tools, you can reach executives at pretty big companies and pitch them your stuff, which on email would be very hard. So this is how we split up the strategy itself. This was just way more channels, more a long-term play, and more personalized.